Decorating Pages is a podcast dedicated to taking you behind the scenes of the designs of your favorite TV shows and films. Each episode, I'll be sharing design stories from some of Hollywood's most famous sets. Interviews from set decorators, production designers, directors, and actors about creating the look of TV and film, about their design inspirations, and stories that take sets from page to screen. Hello, welcome to Decorating Pages. I'm your host, Kim Wanup. I hope you've enjoyed the last couple of episodes where I've talked to some Art Directors Guild nominees. The Art Directors Guild Awards happens this Saturday night, and so we will find out all of the winners. Patrick Tatopoulos and John Schaffner and my crew from The Good Place, and now I'm adding one more, and it's the production designer of the Black Mirror nominated episode, Striking Vipers. So I hope that you enjoy this episode. I'd also like to say, wow, I didn't think I'd get to do that many episodes in January, but I've been busting them out, so I hope to keep it going. I hope you're enjoying, and thank you again for all the feedback that I get for emails and retweeting and all that jazz. I also wanted to say this week is the last episode of The Good Place, so it's a fantastic finale. Get a box of tissues. It was written perfectly, and I can't wait to see put all together. Reading the script and shooting it was one thing, but seeing it, it's gonna be a tearjerker. That's all I can say. I'd also like to promote anybody who wants to look at things that I've bought through Amazon for The Good Place, or Versace, or Veep. The Decorating Pages Amazon shop is around for you to check out any purchases I've made for the shows, and that link is on the website. I'm joined on this episode by production designer Annie Beauchamp, who is nominated for an Art Directors Guild Award this year for her work on Black Mirror, the episode Striking Vipers, which is the one with the two guys who play the video game and then, not giving anything away, they start making out. And I remember watching that episode thinking, what just happened? I love Black Mirror. I love all of them. I mean, some of them more than others, but I think it's a fantastic series. But anyway, Annie joined me from Australia. So we coordinated. It was, she was living in the future, and coordinated a phone call over Skype. And she was fantastic to give me amazing details about her work on Black Mirror, the Lego movie, Top of the Lake, and really talks about what it's like traveling around the world, because she's filmed in South Africa, Vietnam, Brazil, New Orleans. She talks about it all. She really gets into some great details of her influences. She has so many influences of production designers or architects or artists. I'm jealous. I can't remember anybody's name. So I hopefully will get to bump into her this week at the Art Directors Guild Awards. Again, she is nominated for her work on Black Mirror. So I hope you enjoy.
I know, I agree with you. It's not, I don't think we are, but it does. Why should it even have to be like that? It should just be an equal playing field straight away and be on parity.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's just make it to that point. Absolutely agree with you.
Yeah. So how did you start in this? How did you start in this crazy little world?
I studied a BA in Fine Arts, and I thought I was going to be an artist. So for 3 years I studied sketching and oil painting, and got specialised into photography. And from that I had to earn a living, so I became in my spare time I was doing photo shoots for people, like either the models' dresses on their portfolio tear sheets, working with the photographer who let me this led me to working for a props team for stills, photographs, and then on to being an art department runner on some music videos and ads. And when I did that, it felt like, that moment when the red curtain goes up and you see, it's like something lifted.
Like in Moulin Rouge, you mean? No.
And I went, oh, I love this. I have to do this.
Yes.
And
Oh, yes.
now I know what I want to do. This
Yes.
is my passion. And I said to the production designer I was working with, of course, there's a little pipsqueak, how do I become you? How do I become a production designer? And he just looked at me and went, well, you could go to film school. There's a film school here. And I applied for the film school. It was a 3-year degree. It's 40 contact hours a week. It was 16 students. We all got to make films. We did every specialization.
Oh, that's great.
And there was only 16 of us. There was 2 production designers. I luckily got in on my portfolio, and that's really when I learned what it meant to be a production designer. And after that, I guess I cut my real teeth in the world by being an art director for a decade.
Yeah. I mean, that's the usual step. It's not like it's not like me who I knew I wanted to work in the art department, and there's so many positions. And so someone said to me, like, you have to have business cards made because you're going to network and you're going to be at places and you always have to have a card with you. And this was like, early 2000s. So I was like, okay, cool. Kim won a production designer. I look at that now like, oh my God, how embarrassing. I tried to pawn myself off as a designer, and they were probably like, who is this little girl lying to us? I had no experience, nothing, but I just thought, oh, well, that's what I want to do. So I'm just going to put my title on it. No education for that necessary or experience. But being an art director, I say that because I did want to be a production designer. So I got into the guild here.
Yes.
And so I know that that's a step. And was there anything else that interested you? Did you think about illustration or set designing or anything? Or you just knew?
I was lucky enough just to jump into art directing for a designer here called Michael Phillips that came from South Africa, and he'd art directed on Gandhi and big films, and he was an ex-architect. So I really, after teaming up with him and becoming such also personal good friends, that was absolutely like my apprenticeship, really. And we worked together nonstop for a decade. And I really learned a lot with the combination of knowing and learning all the film craft and screen study stuff in the film school degree, and then his practical experience. Because I remember when I did my first art directing job for him, they threw down in front of me, oh, this is so embarrassing, a purchase order book. And I remember sitting in the first day of work with the art, and I was sitting there frozen looking at the purchase order book going, I don't know what this is. I think I'll just go and tell Michael that I can't do this job, and I am not prepared, and he has to get someone that is can actually do the job, and I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
And so I was frozen with fear. And then luckily she saw that I had turned probably ashen and explained to me what a purchase order book was. And Michael didn't want to lose me.
He was smart.
And he met me because I was storyboarding for a director on a previous feature. So I did do some illustration, I guess. Yes, I was doing odd jobs and drawing and all sorts of things. So, yeah, one thing leads to the other, doesn't it, in our industry?
It does, and I think that's important to find out what you don't want to do.
Yes.
Like you see and you're like, oh, yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be in the office all day, or I do want to be in the office all day, or I do want to go to meetings. I don't want to go to meetings. Yeah. There's so many names, and which I always think is so crazy because set decorators in general get called set directors, or I feel like no one ever says set decorator as a position correctly, which is fine, but it's because there's so many positions. There's so many spokes in our wheels.
But for me, the most important couple of roles is the supervising art director or art director, depending on the job, and the set decorator. The set decorator is crucial for me as the head of department and my eyes when I'm not there. I mean, boy, oh boy, I think it's very, very, very creative role, but there's so much work. I mean, you like creating every object in someone's room
Yeah.
and their life story and the subtext of the story, and then color coding and the job in its entirety. How do we do it?
I don't. I mean, I have a wonderful crew that I've had for a very long time, a lot of them. So I blame them for being good and bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a team effort.
Yeah.
When no one's standing there alone, it's a huge team.
Yeah.
And the artist, incredibly important.
And the supervising art director is so vital because that's your link between construction and the graphics, and they're the voice who reports back to you. You know, that's the link. That's your keystone, really, in the art department.
Yeah, and it's a little bit different here. Like when I work around the world, like when you're an art director here, it's the producers give you the entire budget. So you are running props, construction, scenic, drapery, set decoration, everything, special effects, and you're also doing the concept art for VFX. So you get the biggest chunk of money from the producers. Well, you're working with them. I'm not saying it's
no, yeah.
But we are running our own budgets with the art department coordinator and a weekly cost report, which is similar, but we have all departments, including wages, that we in our house.
That's like a commercial here. It's like the designer gets this lump sum and then like figures out, including wages. That's hard. That's really hard to do.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother layer of like, oh, I really only have like 6 days that I can hire this person for, or that's hard.
So when I come to the States and work, and you just have to go into a different mindset, but I kind of know across the board because of that training, in a way, the holistic thing.
How you're going to divide it up, and then when you're here, you don't have to worry about that as much.
No, it's wonderful.
Nice.
It's an absolute pleasure working there, and plus because you have the union.
Yeah. So do you have to join the union, or well, you're part of the guild, obviously, right?
Yeah, so I've joined the Art Directors Guild, the local 800. I'm a member.
Yeah.
And I've done my contract services safety classes.
Oh, God, don't talk about it. I'm like 3 classes behind. Don't talk about it. They're going to get me. I got to go do like scaffolding. I got to go there and get like hooked up to some scaffolding.
No way, it's online now.
No.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, but we have to go. There's like a part 2 of our set decorator has to know how to do scaffolding. It's so crazy. I don't know why set decorators don't have, I don't know. But I have to go and do that physical part in person. Yeah, now it's all online. It's great. But wait, so do you pursue jobs that are around the world? Because your resume of jobs, like, you're global. It's crazy.
No, I mean, definitely international. So the idea is, because I'm a working mum, and I would love to move to LA, but right now I don't want to take Ollie out of his last 2 years of senior school, and then he'll be, either he can have a gap year and travel or go to college, whatever. But I don't think it's fair on him to take him out of school with all his peers, where he's so happy right now.
That's above and beyond the better choice.
So really I have a very supportive partner who's a film editor, and he's taken a full-time position for a couple of years at the film school. So he's teaching it there as head of editing, and the deal is I can travel. So since Ollie was 14, 13, I started to travel. I got a film called The Yellow Birds, which was shot in Morocco and Atlanta. And that was through my UK agent. And then when I met the line producer there and worked in the States, and I just fell in love with it here. there. I fell in love with working in America. Basically, it's just so wonderful to have the. Here we're a bit more organic, resourceful. We have no prop houses really. We have one that has some of the old Matrix props, but really, we have like everyone finds everything through hiring from collectors or shops or eBay or Gumtree. You know that. And so it's an incredible amount of work.
It's so funny because I literally have I didn't send you this. I didn't send you this, but I have a question that was like, I know this sounds very naive, but the perception of Australia, or basically any country other than the United States, is that the film and TV community is very small because of the amount of shows that are imported from the U.S. Am I crazy? Or is that
No, you're not crazy.
Okay.
So we have like a smaller industry, like you're a real larger business, really. It's a proper industry. We have a lot of films here getting funded by the government. So and there's a lot of American interest with Netflix here, for example, and Stan and NBC. So we really are resourceful. We really, I think, kick goals. Our acting and film talent.
You have a lot of actors.
we just try and we travel. Like we're resourceful and we just want to get out there and get it done.
And do it.
We're really and do it. We don't moan. We don't say, oh, that's impossible. It's like, okay, well, how can we solve this problem? And that's because of how much harder it is to find stuff for the art department over here.
Yeah, it sounds very challenging. I mean, I know that sometimes there's like, tax incentives in the United States, and that's why like all of a sudden everybody will go shoot in Alabama. And it's not like Alabama is set up with prop houses or rental places or anything. And
yes, that's right.
People will they'll fill up a truck from LA and bring it in, or you just work with like local vendors and try to rent from their store. Or I mean, that's my department. I don't know how like grips do it. I don't know how other departments do it. But
it's the same here. Yeah, you just have to be organized and resourceful and ship it in, and comes in from somewhere where you know you've got to get onto it really early because there's shipping times.
And then what city or country have you found most challenging to work in?
At the moment, I think I found Vietnam really challenging and really beautiful. Challenging because I art directed a movie called The Quiet American. So I was in Vietnam for 3 months in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, and it was incredibly. It was a long time ago. I think this was the 90s, so things may have changed. Oh my goodness! It's just the process. We still were using cameras to take photographs. Wasn't yet.
Oh, so you had to like print out all your stuff or get it printed?
Yeah, the 1 hour developing labs were your best friends, and you'd go to the fax machine to do the drawings.
Oh man! And it must have been hot as hell.
It was very hot and
humid.
I think there was culturally it was challenging, but. If you wanted that photograph developed and you'd give it to your assistant art director, they would say, okay, like for example, I forgot to take a photograph outside the window of Michael Caine's office in Hanoi on the Bamboo Street. So I said to my assistant art director, oh, look, can you please go and take a photograph of the tree just outside the shop, because I forgot to do it for the greens department, because we're recreating that set back in Sydney in the studio. So the first thing he said is, oh my gosh, I can't, I'm so sorry. I don't have a camera. I said, don't worry, just go buy a disposable camera. So take the photo and develop it and see when you get back. And so he came back and 2 hours later and gave me the camera, and I said, oh great, where's the photos? And he said, well, they're in the camera. I said, okay, well, can you please develop the pictures now? And so he went away.
I don't know who this guy is, but give me his name later. I'm not hiring him.
This is how it works. And so then I realised when he got back at 4 o'clock, I I had the photos. They were all out of focus except one, but that's fine. I could scan it and send it back to Sydney. But he couldn't lose face, so he had to find out who in his family owned a photo lab, and in this case was someone on the absolute other side of the city of Hanoi. So he had to go back there twice through all that crazy traffic and get all that work done so he wouldn't lose face with his family. So, that took all day to get one photograph. And you can't, when you go into countries, you can't change the tide of how things work. You have to go in there and not be I think the white, in my case, I'm white,
right.
the white person who
right.
says this is the way to do things, because it'll just, I have to be open and accepting
and respectful. We're in their country to make a film. We're not there. This is their lives. This is their
exactly. So although it's challenging on that level, at the end of that job, he was so grateful to me about what I taught him about the process, and I was so grateful to him of what he taught me culturally about the meanings and how he saw the world. So I think it's a two-way street. So I love
awesome.
I love doing that, because I kind of love it because it's not only a challenge, but it's also so I find my senses go on fire when I'm challenged in that way mentally, and I just start seeing things in the world that I don't see if I'm at home in my own routine and just going through the same old daily stuff. So even when I come to the States and do a job, like when I went to New Orleans, I was on fire because that architecture was so beautiful.
It's amazing.
And I had the most incredible team. My art director, Michelle Harmon, was such a beautiful woman. She was so good at her job, and my set decorator was incredible. So Kristen was she just invited me over for a barbecue the first weekend. How generous, inviting me into her home.
Well, yeah, we gotta eat. That's that's like my daily thing. But we gotta eat, so we might as well eat or drink or talk about it over a meal.
Best time.
Yeah.
I had the most wonderful time.
Well, that's good.
I felt very lucky to do my job. I think we're in this privileged
Absolutely.
position where we do what we love. I mean, what? So
it's
grateful.
So stupid. I think about it all the time, and I'm like, this is so stupid. Why am I waking up in the middle of the night thinking about the shears or But it is. It's a passion. I think anyone who's in this, it has to be a passion, because we're not solving world problems. I wish we were. And sometimes we get on projects that are important and that people react to, and I look for that also of whether it's comedy or whether it's a drama, whatever. I think that also plays in the back of my mind too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So in your travels, you went to Brazil to do Black Mirror. Why did that episode, which I watched again today, why did that need to be in Brazil? Was there a tax credit there?
No, originally, when I read the script, it was set in the UK. So Charlie Booker and Annabelle, the producers, approached Owen Harris to direct the episode, and he did two of my very favourite Black Mirror episodes, but he did San Junipero and Be Right Back, and I love San Junipero.
I love them all. I basically love them all.
In a way, Striking Vipers is a little bromance companion to San Junipero, and when I met Owen by Skype, we decided that because it was about the routine of Danny and Theo's marriage and how they'd got into to highlight suburbia, we just felt it would be much more clearer visually to set it in a dystopian America, for example.
Okay.
Now, ironically, no one could get their visas in time, except I had no one. So I was going, well, I can go. And I did a lot of research, and the two options that came to mind that Owen had also thought of when we were talking was Cape Town.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I researched Sao Paulo in Brazil, I just thought it had such a subtle, heightened stylization, and it had a very delicate, soft pastel color tone to it, and the city itself has really no advertising in terms of the councils.
It's so dense.
It's so dense.
Is that real, or was that...
That's
that
real.
enhanced? That's real.
That's
wow.
Real. So, and that inspired me, as well as knowing historically, I love the architects from there, like Oscar Niemeyer or Lena Bobardi or Paolo Mendes. I mean, and so then when I found Alphaville there, which is kind of iconic suburbia, it was like suddenly this lookbook poured out of me. And I thought, that's it. That's the setting for Black Mirror Striking Vipers. And we went there.
I didn't think about it until looking at the episode from your point, from a production designer point of view. I mean, when I watched it, I thought to myself, this seems like it's Pasadena, because of, like, there's almost this craftsman sort of house that they're in. And then is this supposed to be downtown LA, or is it Chicago? And then I thought, well, look at this city. This is like not an American city. Like, but so it made me think in that sense that this whole world is just not real.
Yeah.
Or you're not supposed to think about it. You're not supposed to think about it like I am. So.
Yeah. No, it's true. So it isn't real, exactly. No, I think that is really important.
Yeah. Because it takes you out of it sometimes. And I think a lot of the Black Mirrors aren't set in real cities, so that it could be anywhere. All of this could be happening anywhere.
That's right. And also I think there's got to be a connection to something for us when we're watching something set in the near future that is connected to the way we live, so it isn't becoming too science fiction in Black Mirror, so that you realise the reflection of the meaning and the story and the power of, actually it's now. This is happening now, so to speak.
Which is like, and then I was like, well, they don't have accents, so I don't know where it is. I just like this episode. So was it written as like a Japanese garden, or Tokyo Street? Like, what? Or did you have to play a lot of video games to, like... Were you playing a lot of Street Fighter or something? Like...
Well, having had 3 boys, I've seen a lot of video game research.
True. So, yeah.
Charlie had written a different opening to the script. So I got sent to Sao Paulo and did some initial... I often do a lot of research and digging and go down wormholes with locations in the areas I'm going, so I'm prepared for briefing the location manager when I hit the ground. And I found this incredible play of light in this grid in a nightclub. And so I felt the script had opened with the couples, you're 13 years before and at the beginning of romances, and they were originally in a movie theatre watching a movie, like a kind of Conan the Barbarian style, sexy kind of pouring water in a bath thing. And I just suggested a nightclub to Owen, who loved it, and we talked about how that would be so much more intimate. There could be dancing.
And talking. You can't talk in a movie.
Lighting grid around them, and that just felt very Black Mirror to me, and... luckily, Owen totally loved that, and we spent probably we had 5 weeks pre-production to make Black Mirror, so we spent about 3 convincing Charlie that this nightclub was great, and then when we did, he loved it, so that was great.
Oh, wow. So you had 5 weeks prep, and how long was the shoot?
I think we had, I have to look it up. I've forgotten. It was a whirlwind. I think we had like 25 days or 21 days, something like that. It's really, really, they're really fast. And then with the game world, I love just playing with textures and grids. So to try and heighten that, and I did some really diligent research again, and I knew Charlie was very inspired, and Annabelle. They are incredible people and they're geniuses, I have to say that. And I knew that he would have been very inspired, and he was. He told me from Street Fighter. But I felt the original game was set on a beach, and it was called Crystal Beach. We still have a beach in the show, but the majority of the games in the script were a beach, and I just didn't feel like we really had a beach in St. Paolo. Like, I'm from Australia. The beaches here are beautiful.
Right.
Thailand, like the beach also to shoot in is so difficult, like how the light changes during a day, and building a set of a game and how to stylize it with. Anyway, I started feeling like if we applied a Japanese design theme to it, and when I looked back philosophically, I got quite inspired by the Japanese anime artist who did Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, yeah.
I can't pronounce his name, Hiromasa Ugara.
Oh, wow. No, I don't. I was going to say Scarlett Johansson, so. So I'm glad you whipped that out.
So that kind of gave then a freedom and a cohesiveness to the design elements that I could apply to all the game worlds, and then we could have Tokyo Street, and then the helipad, and
the Tokyo Street's fantastic.
And the Japanese temple became the hero one, and a little pagoda off it, and it looked like a fighting rig, and you could have more intimate scenes there, and so that actually fell into place quite effortlessly.
Nice.
Ironically, we couldn't find in St. Paolo easily a Danny and Theo's normal house, so that location is something like 3 or 4 different houses to make that one house.
Oh, really? Because of the backyard to get that, like...
The backyard, the kitchens were also different over there, the streets.
And then, is it Theo? And his apartment is so modern.
Oh, Carl, yeah.
Yeah. Which was, obviously a bachelor has a modern, chic apartment with the pinball machine, and, like, that was... great. Such of like what every guy wants, and then this guy's like flipping burgers. So
I know Carl is so cool.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful apartment on the Paulista that I'd researched through the architects again. There's so many creative people in St. Paolo, and
wow.
And we had the most incredible team. I was able to bring the supervising art director here, Charlie Revi, and luckily for me, Vera Hamburger, who's a production designer in St. Paolo, she was able to set decorate and bring her team of props and art department coordinators, and construction, for example, were 4 different departments. So Charlie had to deal with wood, paint, perspex, and a soft sculpted stunt floor. So for all our construction, to get one construction quote, he had to get those 4 different people coordinated, and and a greens department to cherry blossom all the trees, and actually I'm feeling exhausted.
Oh my God, no, I know, because then I'm starting to think about the real versus that, like with the pagoda or the cherry blossoms, then you dealt also with like set extensions. Was it mostly green screen? Was that shot on a stage?
No, so I had this philosophy of creating all these game world sets on locations.
So they're all builds.
They were all builds on locations.
Wow.
And with visual effects extensions.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, we were so lucky in St. Paulo because that Tokyo street set that was a fantastic location of shops, but it was in a closed off area with a gated Korean manufacturing area, that all the concrete was stamped in grids and all the bricks were the same size on the walls. So we came in and covered 15 to 20 shops, and we put in facades and got into the shops and put lights on. And
well, that's a huge dress.
And they also didn't want to give us very much time to dress and strike, so those guys had to come in.
Shocker.
Shocker. Absolute shocker. And for example, VFX just did everything above the
I see.
Everything above. So we had a green screen at the end of that street, but we built on a T. So, and it was that was great. And that was a little homage to Ghost in the Shell and Blade Runner and all those. There's lots of little things from me going, oh, I love those films, and there's a little bits in there. Plus, there's always the Black Mirror Easter eggs as well. And
well, you can see the influence, but it's definitely turned. I think because it's turned, it's pumped up because of the colors that you used, and I also think it's the two people like making out in each set is another like, oh, okay.
It's quite confronting. It's great.
It is. I forgot how much I liked that episode until I watched it again. The first time I watched it, I remember like looking over at my husband and being like, what's going on? What are we watching?
Isn't that great? And that's exactly the feeling I felt when I read the script. Yeah. And I wanted to have that feeling in the design where you could invent and create and have fun.
Oh, it's absolutely achieved. When they step into that world, you think to yourself, okay, well, that's that. They're in their game world that anything can happen, and
anything could happen. Yeah.
No, it's beautifully done.
We played with multiples, and I just got very inspired also the way that Owen did Matrix, for example. Like, I love some of his sets in Matrix, and they're playing. Oh, yeah. And that's the only film for me. I mean, there's lots of others, I guess, but maybe for me at that point was probably the best reference of how to create a game world.
Yeah. But real. Because the virtual reality plays a big part into it, that we have to feel these things now. We have to be able to believe that they're real, and that's happening now with us, and it's crazy.
And very supported by the producers to be allowed to build and create that feeling by building on location, because you had a different feeling.
Oh, that's great.
When you're doing that, and I was very lucky to have that we had such a. Like, I think you always strive for that collaboration with if you're the production designer, with the DOP and the director, and having a free, also with the line producer or producer who's by your side running, because Charlie and Annabelle were really running their stuff out of London. So we were there as a little group.
Wow. And
they came and Annabelle came and visited, but really I was sending packages off every week and designing the props for all the future stuff. And very involved, but and because we were all on the same page, it flew in a short amount of time. If we weren't, I was so grateful that I had so beautiful working with Owen and the DP.
Oh, that's great. Because you could get hung up. You could get really hung up on something, and it's like a domino effect, and then it starts affecting like other things, and you got to work it out. You only have so much time, but it personally, I think, holds you up sometimes, and like I'm spending too much energy on this, and there's battles to be had, and sometimes in between departments, and it's always great when you can get along and be on the same page, and encourage and help one another achieve what each of the departments want.
Yeah, exactly. And we had a very strict colour palette. Like, I had a very strict colour palette that was more dusty and again, picked up on those bricks in Danny and Thea's house, and concrete for Carl, and a much more heightened colour palette for the game world.
Yeah.
That was also beautifully composed and picked up by the costume designer, Sarah, and we worked very closely together. And luckily, the DP and I also felt, and Owen, that we had to link the real world and the game world. So we were trying to merge colours between the two, and we talked a lot about the film's transition points. So, I love Wong Kar-wai's Nude for Love, and his films are incredible. And we decided to use graphics in a way to link things, so that in Danny's work we'd have signage, vinyls on the partitions of the glass cubicles, and we have them again in a shop, and then we'd have the signage for the game world. So we're always trying, like, thematically and visually, to have an overlap in those real worlds and game worlds, so that, I don't know if anyone picks that up, but there is definitely something little subtexty thing going on there.
When you just said with the costumes connecting from the game world to the real world, after you said that, I started to think of the wife's dress in the first, or the party scene, and then the color palette of the Asian fighter chick's dress. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but it's kind of the same mute.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Yeah, I could see that, how that relation happens, and that's something that it's subtle, and people probably figure it out even without us saying it. I mean, it's relation of, like, oh, that's the look of it.
And I think those subtexts, like when I read a script and I'm researching for the first time, those environments are important, but I'm really trying to find what the feeling is underneath what's written.
Right.
And to how would best bring the subtext out into the story, because I think filmmaking is like a moving painting.
No, yeah, definitely.
And, I think that if we have this palette, and we, through light and film and visual effects, we all work together to create the same outcome, which is, what do you want to say? What are you saying? What are these characters asking you, questioning you, even if the feeling and the design is just posing the question. I'm always thinking of ways to run that emotional undercurrent.
So when you worked on Black Mirror, were you also working on the Lego movie?
No, I did the Lego movie. They suddenly decided they want a live action section of the movie, which would be the opening.
Right.
Which is Beauchamp.
Right.
So I called, because I was here in between jobs, and said, do you want to design a set that's an antiquities shop? Will you come in and meet the Lego directors at Fox? And I went, oh, sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
Do I have to build it out of Legos, or? That would have been my first thing. How many Legos are you giving me?
Yeah. And can they be colored?
Yeah, is it like just the primary colors, or do I get like the new colors? Can I paint them? Can it be the bigger ones and not the really tiny ones? Because that's going to take forever.
Oh my gosh, those digital guys, that is their world.
I can't even imagine. I can't imagine how great and awful that job is.
They have to build the environments out of all the actual little Lego bits, but in the VFX 3D world. And when I went in there, they were at the end of the movie, and they all looked exhausted. And Charlie, who's the director, I came in and just pitched what I thought it should be. Like, they hadn't written the script quite yet. So I was like, oh, look, how about we do, I think he's in San Francisco, and I think the grandfather's taking the son into this antique shop, and how about it looks like this? I think it should have a dividing moon gate door, and I love this rhino head in a glass case from the Victorian period, and we should just have peacocks and amazing antiques. And I was lucky enough to work with Lisa Thompson, a set decorator who on Mad Max, and Lisa scoured antique shops from Melbourne all the way up the coastline to Sydney. And
that sounds like an awful job.
She had a great time.
Yeah.
Charlie and I built the most beautiful set with this most beautiful shoot off, and it gave me such freedom. And I just thought, wow, can I get a big movie, please, if this is what it's like?
Yeah,
this
right.
Is fine. It was honestly like going into a lolly shop for a child. It was just brilliant to have all those resources at your fingertips.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, that was quite fun. And I got to meet Jackie Chan, which
Yeah,
was pretty.
that's what I was going to... Did he have any requests of, like, oh, can this, like, I don't know,
Yes.
Did he? He did, right?
He had to make up a bit of a routine in there with I can't remember what it was. I think it was some swords or some bamboo sticks, or we had to make all that hand stuff props for him.
Oh, wow.
With stunt rehearsals, and he kind of just gets on set and feels that one thing had to tip over and then the other and then the other, and we just made it up.
That's awesome.
Made soft props, and
I'm not really the couple times I have to work with stunts, it's kind of like, what do you want? Like, what? All right, I gotta get 5 different chairs. I gotta get 5 chairs. You can just use this one chair. I don't know. It's sort of, it's
right.
It takes it takes the fun out of it. Like, can't you just come and jump, or you just fall on this thing? Why do I have to get this? Or Props has to get the big mattress thing, and they're so serious. I mean, they have to be, because you could really get hurt, but they're so serious. Some people are very serious with their job, which is great.
Super serious. You just don't want them to be. I don't mind the serious. I just don't want last minute. That's what.
Oh, well, yeah. Then you're on your own, buddy. You got to bring your own chair. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, that's fun. And so you had super fun, awesome Lego movie. And before that, you had Top of the Lake, which is maybe the most depressing show. I loved it. I loved it. But it was damn depressing. That's a dingy little color palette you had there.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, I mean, Jane Campion is such an incredible person and such a beautiful woman to work with. She's really special. And the irony is, for Puss's apartment, so he's a character in the TV series that is particularly unlikable, really. By the end, you find out exactly what kind of creepy person he is, and very dysfunctional. And he lives in this kind of warehouse, terrace, underbelly of a seedier place in Sydney, and we built a set for him for his apartment and the brothel. He has a Thai brothel underneath, and in the series you find out the underbelly of the Thai brothel is really a ring of surrogate mothers and selling babies. It's really dark stuff, which is all based on research that Jane did, believe it or not. So we went to brothels and I took photographs, and that a huge inspiration for that was Blue Velvet for me. I adore Patricia Norris's production design. I have a few key hard hitters that I absolutely honour, which Patricia Norris is one, and there's a handful. Dennis Gassner is another, and Dean Tavares and Richard Silbert, and there's a few more. But Patricia's palette in Blue Velvet in Isabella Rossellini's apartment was just often a go-to if I'm looking at colour. And Puss's, if you go back now, and please don't go back and watch Top of the Lake again.
I don't know if I can handle that again, but...
But if you look at the brothel,
yeah,
it's inspired by her apartment colours. And then the set decorator brought to me a peacock feather. And we were trying to work out, because Puss is so awful, we wanted his character to be real, and we wanted him to be seductive and charming, but really he's someone you should keep away from. And when Glenn brought this peacock feather to me, I said, this is Puss, like his bane, he's a peacock. Right. And we used the colours from that, and that became a theme. So he would get that pattern going inside the brothel, and that was kind of a turning point moment. So, and Nicole Kidman's house, I just pitched to Jane that being very white. So most DPs, stark. Yeah. It's a huge, beautiful house. We looked at maybe 50 houses, and when I finally got to take Jane there, she loved it and she got it, and she could shoot very far away and shoot through rooms, and it was very open, inside-outside feeling, and it was in such contrast to the rest of the TV series. I think that worked quite well, but that was a journey.
It was brighter than much brighter than the rest of the series. Yeah. Were you a fan of the first season?
Yeah, I loved the first season.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, it actually is such a shock they're not on the lake that it takes them the half of the second season to get over they're not in New Zealand. So really, Elizabeth Moss is incredible in that. When she finally came to set, it's when it all made sense to me. She's such an incredible actress. Yeah. It's, again, like sometimes, I don't know if you find this, but sometimes I just think the set is naked until the actor walks on.
Yeah, I do. I have a hard time, like when I watch my work, I still think it's a set. And I'm only really ever taken out of it when I see the show when I'm not expecting it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if it's a photo still, and I'm like, oh, was I done that? Did I do that? Like, not in a good way. I'm not like boasting, but really like, oh yeah, that looks real. Look, that I pulled that off, or we pulled that off, and yeah, that's crazy. But I have a hard time if I'm like an episode airing, and I have a hard time thinking that it's not a set. And that's hard because that's the whole point, is for it to not look like a set, and you do your best and everything. So I know what you mean by having an actor in there, and I know a lot of people only like to show their work with actors in it. Because it gives it life. The life is there then. So I get that. And I can imagine Elizabeth Moss. I'm definitely a fan of hers in almost everything that she does, and I feel like she's just so good, and so subtly good in that. So subtle and so impactful in her performance in Top of the Lake. I just loved it.
I think in everything she is just a tour de force.
Yeah.
As to Nicole. Nicole's incredible too. Yeah.
Well, I'm sick of Nicole. No, I'm kidding. Oh my God, could you imagine? Did you, I mean, I don't ever really talk to, I just worked with an actor that I worked with like 15 years ago, and I made a point of never saying hello to them, because, or like introducing myself until like really the very last day of sort of like, yeah, remember we were friends kind of thing. Because they didn't remember me, and that's fine. I get it. I'm not in their face every day. I'm behind, I'm gone before they get there. But did you say hi to Nicole, like from Moulin Rouge? Were you like...
Yeah. Well, we couldn't... this is so embarrassing. I'm going to admit this. Okay. On Top of the Lake, Nicole has a girlfriend, and it was very difficult to find a location for her house. So we ended up shooting here in my house, which I've always
God.
Never having a film crew in our house.
I would never have a film crew in my house.
Never have a film crew in my house. So I broke the rule.
Wow.
And I said to Roland, look, do you mind? So Glenn came in and he changed it completely, and we painted, and then we redressed the lounge room and my bedroom. So Nicole was here because she was sleeping in my bed.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Washed, of course.
And you have your big Moulin Rouge poster in the hallway. No.
The house in storage, let me tell you. And I'm sitting here at my dining table working, like drafting the prison bars, because we shot in New Zealand last, and we were shooting somewhere that wasn't, of course, a prison, so we had to make a corridor and put it in course. And I was sitting here at the dining table doing the drawings opposite Nicole and all the actors, and then suddenly I realised, I'm in my house, but I'm sitting in the green room. And I was like, oh no. I just realised. And so I looked up and I said, do you guys want me to leave? I just realised I shouldn't be in here. And of course they didn't want me to. And I was chatting to Nicole, and then Roland rang me, because my husband rings every day at lunchtime to say hi. How are you? How sweet's that after 20 years of marriage?
Oh, that's sweet.
And I got off the phone and I said to Nicole, I just love that. He still rings me at lunch. Gosh, I love him. And she said, I love Keith so much. And then we just started talking about our relationship.
Oh, that is so sweet.
About the farm and how her dad, and oh my God, we had this whole then round table with all the actors' conversations about. It was really gorgeous. So
that's awesome.
We, if you have the opportunity, I mean, I love talking to these guys, and I loved getting to know Elizabeth, and I made a book at Top of the Lake. So I took photographs along the way and
nice.
Tiled with the whole crew pictures of them on set. And the picture of me is so wide, you can hardly see it. But I made and published it and gave it to everyone at the end of the day.
That's an awesome wrap gift. That's very thoughtful.
I haven't done that on other projects, but it was such a beautiful project to work on with such special people. And Jane creates the most loving, relaxed. I've never been on such a relaxed set.
Oh, that's good.
So all the actors are given the cotton wool they need to feel relaxed and comfortable to do their best performances.
Well, it's such a heavy, topic. So yeah.
Yeah, so she has a very beautiful, unique way of working. And I loved it.
Have you worked with a lot of people again? It sounds like you've been lucky to work with a lot of nice people.
Yeah.
But because you work like all over the world now, and sort of like, isn't it hard to like get another project together? Because I mean, timing is always sucks, and sometimes you can never sync up with someone again, and that's sucks
right.
in your business. But
exactly what happens.
Yeah.
And you have to, in a way, keep you do that, you have to keep yourself available. Like sometimes I switch to do TV commercials, and I have a few people I work with over and over again. I try and keep the same art department each time. Like I love working with a couple of set decorators here, but overseas now in the US, I'm just starting to use different people all the time, which I find quite challenging myself. And what it does is, in a way, it's quite healthy, because it almost puts a mirror up to me to see what my behaviour is like, to make sure I'm being a good head of department who's open and intuitive and caring. And that's really important to have those qualities as a production designer, because I don't want to be passing on stress or
Yeah. We're all stressed out. We don't need your stress.
They don't need it. That's right. We're stressed enough from getting the job done.
Yeah. But not everyone is like that, so I appreciate that you are, and think about that and try to incorporate that, because not everybody's like that.
No, and I think working with new people overseas makes you hold that mirror up a bit more than if you were just.
Yeah, you're on good behavior in a sense, but you want to be. It's not like,
you want to be a good role model, like you are. Hopefully, we are for our children, and quite frankly, just for the person walking down the street that I pass and say hello to, because we're all on this planet together, really, and we're all,
You didn't say hi to people when you were in Florida, did you? Were you in...
We were in New Orleans.
Oh, so that was done in New Orleans. I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So God in Central Florida was done in New Orleans.
Pretending to be Florida.
Oh, I see. I get it now. Because you said that earlier. I was like, wait, what was that? And then I was like, it probably wasn't the Florida one. But that makes sense. Oh, now that it's the Florida one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool, meeting Kirsten. Kirsten and Jessie are gorgeous people. She's one beautiful, down-to-earth woman.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. And such a fun, colorful little piece to do there, wasn't that?
Yes.
So wait, so that is set in like the early 90s? But first I had to look, because at first I thought it was the 80s, and I was like, well, it's Florida.
Oh, that's right. That's great, because I did do that. We
Yeah.
decided to do a bit of 80s, but because people were
Oh yeah, people don't move into the decade till like the 5th or 6th year. I feel like you don't get. I don't feel like you get like the feeling of the decade till like the mid years at least.
Yeah.
You're still borrowing off, and nobody's redoing all their shit. No real people are redoing their shit every decade.
That's right. They're all still behind.
But it's beautifully done and very Florida. I thought it was Florida, so there.
Oh my goodness, that's such good news.
Yeah.
And research.
Oh, I love to research. Did you go to Florida though? You didn't have to go there, did you?
No, I didn't.
Kidding.
No. And I spend a lot, even like Google Maps or realestate.com. Like, I'll go and look at cheap housing and.
Oh, it's a secret little realestate.com. Airbnb is a great resource of like what people are trying to get you to stay in. So weird.
And then just finding like incredible, just houses in time capsules too.
Yes. With alligators.
Yes.
And nets. They got a lot of nets.
That was really fun. I mean, we built that set on a stage for Crystal Stubbs, and then we built the Gomes' house on the stage, and then they were our main sets, and we, of course, then just rotated all the other ones. We built a lot. And then in New Orleans, there was a zoo that we turned into a water park, so I had to build fences to hide the elephant enclosure. And
that's awesome.
And that's where the pink and blue color coding came from for Florida, which was heavily influenced by Stephen Shaw's photographs and Michael Parr and all these great soft blues and pinks pastel palette, and a bit of 80s muraling, palm trees, sotsas, fading American glory. So there was an underbelly there of things aren't quite right, and in that pyramid system,
it definitely comes through, and it definitely is its own character in the series. So you're coming on location. You're gonna come to LA and go to the ADG Awards, and I get to buy you a drink.
I get to buy you a drink.
No, for being on that, no. I really
honored. I am walking on sunshine about being nominated. This is like
it's so
incredible honor. I am so excited to be flying to LA on Thursday.
Yes. It is. It's exciting. It's like our Oscars. It's so nice. And now there's a red carpet. And now there's like, it's like on some TV. I don't know what station, but yeah, no, it's great. It's really come up. It's nice. We're respected.
I can't wait to meet everyone, and just it's just so so wonderful.
It's nice. It's nice to be acknowledged, and it's, I think, nice to be acknowledged amongst your peers. It's a nice thing.
Absolutely the highest honor, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely, yes. So, good luck.
Thank you. Good luck. I'll see you there.
I know. I'm so glad we're Skyping, and then I know who to look for, and you know who to look for, although I look horrible. But I'll look a lot better on Saturday night. But thank you so much for doing this, and thanks for getting into detail with everything. That's fantastic. Thank you.
I am so grateful you've asked me to contribute to the podcast. Thank you for making the podcast. It's such a great thing that you're doing, and in your spare time. I mean, it is brilliant. I've just about shared it to about 80 people here.
Oh, so that's great. Well, let's just hope the audio recorded.
I think you can hear in Annie's voice, she sounds like such a sweetheart, and her concept of just wanting to be a nice person and a nice boss, I mean, that seems so sweet. And I've been lucky enough to run into many a good person, not just a good production designer or any position, but being nice and being respectful in this business and in any business is really what it's all about. And what a sweetheart for taking time to just talk to me from Australia. How about that? Those poor fires. We had a whole conversation beforehand about the fires, and her family was affected, and it's just so nice of her to take the time to speak with me. I should also mention that Annie was nominated for an Art Directors Guild Award in 2002 and won for Moulin Rouge. She was the art director. How amazing to work on that film. So this is her second nomination, and she's previously won. So good luck to everyone who's competing this weekend, and it's all around fantastic work. I'm in awe of everything that's nominated and not. So I hope everybody has a good time, and let's be honest, I hope the good place wins. I hope you got an earful. I'm Kim Wanup for Decorating Pages. Decorating Pages is sponsored by Stogie Floaty. Float 'em if you got 'em. Luxury pool floats. Available now at stogiefloaty.com.
Welcome to Pro Tips for the Pros, brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads. In this series, we'll explore essential advice for professional contractors to deliver outstanding renovation results. Let's dive in. Before starting any renovation project, take the time to plan meticulously. Assess the customer's needs, budget, and timeline to ensure a smooth and successful renovation process. Thank you for joining us for this pro tip on planning thorough renovations. Stay tuned for more expert advice brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads.
A lot of people tolerate ordinary. Ordinary bathrooms, kitchens, entryways. Well, not on your watch. If you're a pro, you've got a new partner in town. Floor & Decor. From tile to wood to stone, Floor & Decor has more styles and job lot quantities of Schluter, Mapei, Laticrete, and other brands pros trust. Come see a whole new way to wow with Floor & Decor. Coming soon to Bailey's Crossroads.